are not taking pollution seriously, or we are not taking climate change seriously, somehow in the next millennium, Lake Victoria will be dead.
Takeaways seems to be fashion. Bottled waters and the juice are daily used. Plastics are everywhere. Fast-moving consumer goods companies produce a huge amount of plastic packaging, and most of it can't be recycled. Instead, it is burned, landfilled, or ends up polluting the environment. Every year we find the same companies are top of plastic polluters. Companies claim to care about plastic pollution, and they have made public commitments to try to tackle it. But what are they really doing in the name of solving plastic solution?
Anayezalisha taka ni mwananchi, na shughuli za kiuchumi ambazo wafanyabiashara wanafanya ndio wazalishaji wakubwa wa taka. Kwa hiyo kwa mujibu wa sheria inawahitaji wao kuhifadhi taka kwenye maeneo ambayo yametengwa na maeneo rasmi.
Lake Victoria is one of the major resources which is very important to the community of Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. And when the lake is getting polluted, or when the environmental changes are taking place in the lake, we lose the vital resource, which is fish. When we lose fish, we are having stress in human, because it is through that fish that we get capital for all other activities that we can do.
Lake Victoria is the largest lake in Africa, lying mainly in Tanzania, which occupies 49%, in Uganda 45%, bordering on Kenya of 6%, with about 965 islands on it. The Lake Victoria is not just a source of water for communities depending on it. It is a source of heritage, culture, identity, and so much more. According to the Journal for Great Lakes Research on the first evidence of microplastics in Africa, Great Lakes Recovery from Nile Perch and Nile Tilapia, by the team of researchers Faris Johnny Bignagwa, Bahat Mayoma, Ivan Shashu, and Christian Saibag, shown that plastics pollution has been widely recognized as a global environmental concern, reported in all environmental compartments, with devastating impacts on aquatic resources and economy. Currently, about 350 metric tons are produced annually from 1.5 metric tons in 1950s, and could double by 2050. Between 80 to 10 metric tons end up in aquatic environments annually, mostly from rain-based source, and 150 metric tons are floating on the lakes. Lake Victoria is one of the highlands of Mwanza region in Tanzania, and the second largest freshwater lake in the world. This report visited the shores of Lake in Nyamagana district, Mwanza region, where west is rampant. Fishermen blame the problem on poor management of trash.
Kuongezeka kwa watu kwenye visiwa ndiko kunasababisha matatizo ya ongezeke.
Wengine wanatumia sumu ya kusika samaki. Hiyo ni kuchafua ziwani. Na hata ile ambayo ilikuwa na mbe, ile ambayo inataka kuzaa itakufa. Na itakufa na hizo mtoto zake zote, hiyo mayai yote itakufa. Mazingira ikuwa safi ndio samaki itakuwa.
Statistics zinasema kati ya samaki 10 kuna samaki mmoja ambaye anakula plastic. Kwa unaweza kuona hatari tulionayo ambao tutaenda kupoteza viumbe samaki ambao wako majini, unajua kama tilapia ambao ndio kama nembo ya Mwanza, si ndio?
This time we deal with enforcement rather than management. And when you deal with enforcement, the entire society look at the environment is a property of the government, but not my property. We must bring Lake Victoria into the national table so that in the national policy-making body, Lake Victoria is put as one of the resources that needs protection. It is we the people that makes the government to have it as a priority. Government doesn't have to make it a priority, but we the people, we will force the government to make it as a what? A priority. Politicians see today, they don't see tomorrow, while science sees next year or 10 years from now.
In 2014, weight ratio was 1/5, and the projection showed that by 2050, oceans and lakes could probably have more plastics than fish by weight. Plastics items have been linked to ecological disturbances, with so far than 800 species reported to ingest by plastic worldwide.
Kuna tafiti zimefanyika, wamekutwa na aina ya hizo plastics ambao wanaita microplastics. Yaani katika kila samaki watano waliopo ziwani, huo utafiti ulionyesha kuna samaki mmoja unakuta na vipande vya nini? Vya plastiki. Katika ekolojia, samaki akishakula hiyo plastics, sasa na sisi binadamu, kwa sababu tunatumia samaki kama kitoweo, inaweza ikawa ina madhara, ingawa ushahidi wa kisayansi bado hujafanyika kuona ni madhara gani, lakini ni kwamba tunachafua ziwa na kusababisha madhara kwa viumbe.
Hizi ni chupa za plastiki ambazo zimekuwa zikitupwa katika mto huu Mirongo na zimekuwa zikisafirishwa moja kwa moja kuelekea ziwa Victoria. Sasa hii imekuwa ni hatari zaidi kwa viumbe haya ambao wanapatikana ziwa Victoria, lakini pia watumiaji wa maji. Kama utakavyoona, hii ni sampuli ya mkojo ambao umehifadhiwa katika chupa hii, na baadhi ya taka za vyakula mbalimbali ambavyo vimekuwa vikitupwa sasa vimekuwa vikihatarisha zaidi usalama wa watumiaji na viumbe haya ambao wamekuwa wakipatikana katika ziwa Victoria.
According to WWF report of 2020, Tanzania is the 5th country in the world in the environmental destruction. Plastic have been randomly dumped anywhere around the city. Out of the efforts driven by the city council, still a challenge being brainstorming.
Kwa sababu ni mchakato ambao unahitaji wazalishaji wenyewe kufahamu kwamba wanaweka mfumo gani. Yaani kwa mfano, pangekuwa na mfumo na wao hizi chupa hizi ambazo wanazalisha wanaweza wakawa wanazirejesha, badala ya kuwa kinaenda kutupwa kirudi kitumike tena.
If we are not aware, Lake Victoria will be dead. The lake is dead when it cannot support the species of life. It cannot support the community around it. It cannot support the community inside it.
While the world is fighting for single plastic use, plastics were confirmed in 20% of both species in the Great Lakes that were tested, including Lake Victoria. But due to the constraints and the inability to confirm the identity of smaller sized suspected microplastics, we likely underestimated the true extent of plastic ingestion by Nile Perch and Nile Tilapia.
The lack of environmental concern across East Africa, which requires a massive education on environment.
If we make any mistake now, then our children will have no lake. We have had a problem of having one resource but managed by different tools. Kenya with its own Fisheries Act, Tanzania, Uganda.
In order to predict the future, you need to look at the past, look at the present, and then see what happens. In the past, things were okay. People were law-abiding. People were listening. People would be told that do this, and this is a no-go area, and would accept that's just a no-go area. Today, the situation has slightly changed. People are defiant. In everything they try to do, there's defiance. You tell them this is wrong, they say no, that's where they want. So if we continue along such believing in defiance, even in anything, then the future is bleak. I don't want to be a pessimist. I'm a scientist. I am building that on what I'm saying. But if people can learn and adopt, come back to our souls, we do thorough soul searching and understand that this, we are doing it for ourselves, but also doing it for the future generations, then the future is bright.
Kila mwananchi, kila taasisi, tuhakikishe tunalinda mazingira yetu, kwa sababu madhara yatakayotokea yanatuathiri sote.
This is the first study that describes the presence of microplastics in fish inhabiting African great lakes. Within Lake Victoria, Nile Perch and Nile Tilapia are both economically and ecologically important, especially since they are heavily consumed by local human residents. Future investigation should consider the traffic of transfer of microplastics through the freshwater food chain, particularly Nile Perch, which are known to feed on the smaller fish, and the prevalence of microplastics in Lake Victoria would be expected to increase.